Hey everyone, Thyworm here. Welcome to another video, this time about Superfuse, and I'm here to tell you to get excited for this title. It's super fun. Let me explain why. Superfuse is an action RPG similar to The Ascent. I think that's a decent comparison actually, and like that game, it is set in a cyberpunk futuristic setting. I've made a whole video about the game, a preview video including the history, the devs, the features, the story, everything. I'll link it in the card in the description. I'm not gonna go into any of that in this video. This video is a hands-on impression of the closed playtest. I'll give you my thoughts about the game in its current state, roughly 1.5 months before it releases on Steam into early access. While there's a big disclaimer when playing this, that everything is subject to change in the bottom right corner, the devs realistically have about a month. I don't think that much is going to change, let's be honest. Fortunately, not much has to change either for you guys to enjoy it. Last time I played this game, it was a very short demo. It was fun, messing around with skills was interesting, but due to the length and for me also bad performance, it was hard to assess Superfuse. The closed playtest is quite a bit longer, there's much more playable content, and I must say, this game is shaping up to be a very fun one, if the direction taken is any indication. And like I said, it's launching soon, so it's a rather safe bet. Early access is going to look like this. Right off the bat, you can tell the distinct visual style. The game isn't all that fast-paced, enemies aren't swarming the screen typically, so you have plenty of visual clarity. You can enjoy the environments, see the skills enemies are throwing at you, and traveling the procedurally generated zones is a joy. Not in the least because of excellent background music that sweeps you up while fighting using synth arrangements and retro vibes. It's a great soundtrack, very fitting, very spacey, perfect for the ambience of the game. The art direction here is on point, and the more I see of the world, the more excited I am to explore. Something else you will notice quickly as you are starting in a town is the voice acting. It is solid. Overall, great performances. The game has a surprising amount of it too, with tons of voice lines. The whole campaign is apparently voiced. You hear it in the hub, all the quests, and even random recordings and data carriers you find out in the world, like holotapes and such. There's a heavy focus on the narrative, which isn't something you see that often in this genre. Bolson comes to mind with a very cinematic campaign, and of course, The Ascent. Superfuse has something similar, but takes another form of expression, comic books. The story is told through comic book cutscenes, quite original, and it works really well with the rest of the art style. I don't know how many worlds and hubs are planned, but the attention to detail here is noticeable and appreciated. All in all, the superficial elements of Superfuse look good, which is important. What really matters though are loot, combat and progression. Let's start with the combat, which is a mixed bag for me. I started with the Berserker, which is a brawler character using melee weapons and strikes. It's just not entirely there, in my opinion. I'm not a big fan of the melee combat. The clicking is a little awkward. I felt like the clicks either didn't register or that I was misclicking, but I wasn't misclicking. I play ARPGs all the time, I'm pretty sure it's not me. There seems to be a bit of a delay sometimes between your animations and the moment enemies get hit. It's little but very noticeable things, and all those things combined took me a little bit out of the melee combat flow. The combat feel, by which I mean the sort of visceral elements of the combat, so the sounds, the animations by themselves, the screen shake, that all works well. Combat in that sense feels good, but with the Berserker it is simply not always accurate and on point. I realized that this is not an excellent description. Something like this, how combat plays, is very hard to describe or even to watch in a video. But trust me on this, it is not entirely there. And combat that acts like you think it does is important to nail in an ARPG. And currently this is not on par with other games in the genre, so I decided to reroll to a caster. Someone who can still enjoy the combat but doesn't have to deal with the close combat shenanigans. There is a second playable class, an elementalist, casting elemental magic. It feels a lot better using ranged magic. none of the melee issues exist, targeting is usually fine, and because you're waving huge AoE spells, you require less accuracy. It masks the issues somewhat, perhaps. While we're at it, let's name a few more negatives, minor ones, at least for me. You can't rebind the keys in the demo. Maybe the early access version has that, maybe not. Keep an eye out for that if it bothers you. Also, I noticed that sometimes the procedural generation creates a zone in which you can't actually find the exit, as in part of the level was just missing, you couldn't actually get there. You can create a new zone and then it's fixed, but it happened to me twice, that I cleared the entire zone and there was just no way forward. Finally, performance was mostly good, but with a lot of enemies on screen and you making wacky skills that cover half of that screen in AoE, I noticed significant frame rate drops to around 30 FPS. Now keep in mind that is on a 2080 and i7 8700 with all the settings set to the maximum to epic quality. Lesser PCs should drop the settings and then I would assume you'll be fine. Talking a bit more about combat, a big part of combat are your skills, and Superfuse has a unique skill system where you put together fuses, which are basically support gems, and you can create really wacky combinations of skills. It's super fun to do, honestly. For example, I have this fire AoE spell, a wall of fire. I can make the walls thicker, make the spell cheaper, get more loot and gold from burning enemies, and have the whole thing slowly expand. Experimenting is free, you can mix and match to your heart's content, and it's an amazing system, honestly. Another good thing here is that you find these fuses during combat. You can't buy them, it seems, so there's a good reason to grind it out in the hopes you find more fuses, so you can try to make your skill act even more efficiently. There's a limit to how many fuses you can put on, but each time you level up, that limit is increased. It's a great form of progression, I feel, and this whole skill system is a massive selling point. There's more progression, you have your skill tree, unlocking more abilities and passives. This is nothing special, honestly, but it does the job. It's functional, it's pretty clear, and there are builds to be made in this game for sure. Especially because the loot itself is quite good too. You get a lot of loot, which I appreciate. There's no loot filter, it seems, which I don't appreciate. A basic loot filter would already help a lot, like filtering on rarity. Talking about rarity, loot has many tiers going from normal to unique. I found 2 unique so far in this playtest, and one of them was a set of boots with 40% movement speed. So that's why I'm so freaking fast in some of the footage. It's safe to say after spending 3 hours in this playtest, I am impressed. This game is a lot of fun. There are a few things I don't know yet, of course, like the longevity of the game and the replay value and that sort of thing, end game, you know. It's hard to assess at this moment in time. What I will do, however, is check out the early access launch. This is on the 31st of January, it's pretty soon, and it should be good, judging by this slice of gameplay, the playtest. And that's it. I just wanted to let you know I'm still excited for this title. Keep an eye out, watch some other content creators, get their opinions, and if you feel good about it and the early access reviews are favorable, you might want to pick up this title. Or just, subscribe to me and, I might make another video and give my actual review of the game once it launches. Thanks for watching, I appreciate each and every one of you. Love you all, see you soon, bye bye.